flashing red is good.
See the guy that died up on the Ammonoosuc Trail off of Mount Washington?
Yeah,
He was a backcountry skier from Vermont, and he skied down, the Ammonoosuc Trail is like really steep. And he triggered an avalanche, and he got buried by 13 feet of snow.
Oh,
Yeah, he had an avalanche beacon, they found him, but he died
Sorry.
right there.
yeah. Well, they had an avalanche
Here's,
already?
Just,
He triggered the
Here's the
avalanche,
actual
because
agenda
he was
printed
doing
out
like
if you wanna
backcountry
use
skiing, so he
that.
well,
was
I've
skiing
got
down the
it on my
ravine.
phone, so I think
And it
it
just
should
caused
be
the
all right.
snow to
Got
come
your
down
iPad?
and just,
Yeah, I came from Concord, so
Oh,
I got a
that's
chance
what
to.
That's a terrible time this
get
time
home,
of the
so
year up there.
We run
I
away from
wouldn't
did, so I
ski it.
just came here directly, but
okay. You don't want
that'll
this?
work.
no.
Okay.
I got my glasses so I can see it.
No.
We are good today. Wow. Did you see Eddie Edwards got, the assistant?
Well, I don't
Did
think
they
you can
nominate,
be-
I mean, did they
I don't
approve the
think you'd be
nomination? I
the
knew
first
that
one
it was
to
being pushed
buried in an
forward.
avalanche up there.
I think it
What's
still has
that?
to go to
I don't think
approval,
you'd be
doesn't it?
first to,
It's a new
No,
nominee.
it's a
Yeah,
funnel,
I knew
so
that was gonna
hiked up
happen.
there, but
I just don't know if they voted to,
it's a lot of snow.
I assume that they'll vote to accept it, I think it's a formality.
I think so, yeah.
Yep.
He was in my academy class,
He's
In
really jumped
1996.
into the political world, I think.
yeah.
I think they've had a few. The only thing is, when Fish and Game goes up to dig him out,
Yeah, they did, they had to dig him out by hand.
did they?
Took them 2.5 hours
Jeez.
for eight
Thank
people to
you.
dig him out.
Jeez.
It's crazy. There was a
Hi.
skier that was killed on Stowe, I think, last weekend.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, hit a tree.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Usually get one or two a year, somebody runs off the trail and.
Was he
Yeah.
wearing a helmet?
I don't know.
He
Friend of
scared
mine-
me. I told the
Friend of
kids
mine
I'd
was
try
skiing up in
snowboarding.
Conway. He hit a tree and wasn't wearing a helmet, so he ain't here anymore. That would happen about quite a few years ago. It was a retired English teacher, high school, had bought an ice cream business that was open from Memorial Day to a little after Labor Day. An ice cream stand called the Four Cs. And you'd wait in line to get in to get an ice cream. People would stay there, get it too, you know. All the homemade ice cream. We on?
Yep, just started. So we can call the February 17th meeting of the Laconia Police Commission to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Recording secretary is Lori Marsh. A roll call, Commissioner Mello.
Here.
Commissioner Davis.
Here.
Commissioner Woodham is present. We're all present. We have a quorum. Moving on to, recognize Chief Canfield and Recording Secretary Lori Marsh. Moving on to personnel matters, commendations and awards,
Nothing?
resignations and retirement.
We have two. The first one was dispatcher Corey Allen. She used to be a full-time dispatcher, and then she went on to get married and went to a part-time status. She has since been working another job, and it's just a little bit too much on her to stay part-time and then stay current with the requirements. So she put her letter of resignation in, and certainly a loss to us, but certainly understand the personal situation. The second one is Officer Connor Sutherland has resigned to go to another agency.
Promotions and classification changes. Chief Canfield.
Nothing?
Command staff reports, Chief, Support Division.
For the sports division, there's work on a motorcycle week planning, which is underway. Certainly, it's up in the air how that's gonna take place, but I assume it will, as it did last year, in some form or fashion, given the COVID situation. I've also been working on planning for the Ironman Triathlon that has been proposed to take place in late August. This was a effort that was put forward to have the exchange between the run and the bicycle take place at the middle school, with the final leg and the ending of it on Main Street here in Laconia. The promoters have expressed at least a 3-year interest to do this again the next couple years. So we've been working with that to make that happen. They've also been very busy with getting the new ProQA software up and running for dispatch. This is pretty groundbreaking, as I think we'll be one of the first agencies in the state to have this software in our dispatch center. But it's comparable to the dispatch centers at the 911 centers, where it standardizes the questioning. When a caller calls dispatch, the dispatcher can ask the questions, and it prompts them with what questions to ask. So as they're taking the call, it pushes the information out onto the officers' computers in their car as they're taking the call, instead of taking the call and then dispatching it in its entirety. So it should not only speed up the response to calls, but should get more thorough information to the officers in a more timely manner. So it's a really big undertaking, but certainly that is underway and looking to be implemented later this spring. In addition, they've been spending a considerable amount of time working with the new scheduling software called InTime Scheduling to get that up and running for spring. And that's it.
Just a question about the triathlon. So they're gonna swim at Delacoya, I believe, right?
I believe so.
And come here, yeah. So they're gonna have to, how are they gonna do that? This is, question about parking, I guess, is, are they gonna do remote parking, do you think, or is it?
I don't know how that's gonna work as of yet. They're certainly, yeah, they're gonna do the swim at Delacoya
Not
and then
come
do
back
the
here?
bike ride in the run, but I'm not sure how that's gonna all work yet.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'll keep you informed as
Yeah,
we.
just curious, so, yep.
Well, that's supposed to end up over here at the beach and park over here, isn't it?
That's the exchange between the bicycle portion of it and the run part of it.
Or is it?
And then the run part will be something, basically the loop around Elm Street to Union Avenue on the WOW Trail, but it also incorporates some of the side streets off of Holman Street to make up the distance. So I think they're gonna do that run twice, ending up on Main Street. So, I mean, it's certainly a good thing for the area, and certainly
Yeah,
will bring a
sure.
lot of people into the area, and hopefully a lot of money to support our local businesses.
Yeah.
Operations Division, Chief.
So the firearm simulator that we were approved for last year in our budget has arrived yesterday. So they installed that yesterday, and they've been running an instructor level class today to get certain officers certified as instructors. This replaces our old system, which is about 12 years old. Certainly everything that's going on in national policing with use of force, this is almost a mandatory tool that we need to have, and certainly good for the officers to teach them use of force and how to de-escalate and how to talk to people and how to adjust to changing situations. So looking forward to getting officers trained on that. We've applied for a Homeland Security grant for a trailer that would come with cones and barricades, something that we could deploy to situations where we needed stuff to help with traffic control. The grant that was approved earlier this year was approved for the bid process, so that bid has gone out. We're just waiting to hear back, but that's for the command post vehicle that we applied for from about a year ago. So all combined, that's about $350,000 between the two grants that we're gonna get from federal money with no match from the city. They conducted the annual sergeant's test on February 1st, which establishes an eligibility list for sergeant if a vacancy were to occur. And we are currently in the process of doing one background investigation for one person to fill one position. So I think his background will be done in the next couple of weeks, and we'll know if he'll be suitable for hire, and then we'll certainly bring him before the commission to make that final decision.
The old simulation system, do they take that in trading, or is that, what happens to that?
They did. They took it in trade, and they gave us a credit towards the purchase of the new system. So I don't know what they do with it. I don't know if they refurbish it and use some of the parts or whatnot, but they did take it in trade. And that's all I have.
Okay. You all received a copy of the minutes of the December 16th, 2020 meeting. And unless there are any changes or alterations, I'll take a motion to accept those minutes.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes of the last meeting.
Any second?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And the minutes of the December 16th, 2020 meeting have been approved. Review of monthly activity reports. Chief Canfield.
So for the month of January, we responded to 2,548 calls for service, investigated 266 criminal offenses, clearing 224 of those cases by arrest, making a total of 122 physical custody arrests. We arrested 6 people for DWI, 21 people were taken into protective custody for intoxication. We responded to a total of 20 domestic disturbance calls, 66 other disturbance calls, handled 10 suicidal subjects, and investigated 16 violation restraining orders. And for the month of January, LPD volunteers volunteered 35 hours for the month.
The criminal investigative unit statistics.
So for the month of January, they investigated 17 new cases, conducted 17 follow-ups on other cases, made 3 felony arrests, initiated 4 felony charges, made 1 misdemeanor arrest, and brought forward 1 misdemeanor charge. They issued 25 total search warrants, arrest warrants, or juvenile petitions. They cleared 1 case by unfounded, conducted 22 sex offender registrations, investigated 4 computer-related crimes, 1 background investigation, 2 knock and talk investigations, 10 drug intel sheets, conducted 2 polygraph exams, conducted 8 training hours, and did 47 different body camera redactions. They've been pretty busy this month. They've investigated some really big crimes that have taken a lot of time, so some really good work out of detectives lately.
Questions? Okay, moving on to budget reports, budget documents. Chief?
Our budget requests were submitted in December. I look forward to meeting with the city manager probably in the next couple of weeks or a month to go over preliminary budget recommendations from the city manager. And our current budget is certainly on track.
Monthly traffic statistics.
We issued a total of 109 parking tickets. 1 for overtime parking, 3 for parking on the sidewalk, 2 for blocking alleys or driveways, 1 for space not designated for parking, 3 for midnight to sunrise, and 95 for snow removal during that time period. We investigated a total of 31 motor vehicle accidents, 7 of which were with injury. And the leading cause of motor vehicle accidents for January was driver inattention or distraction, followed by a tie for failure to yield the right-of-way and unsafe back-in. Number one place for motor vehicle accidents for the month was 6 on North Main Street, followed by Beacon Street East, or I'm sorry, Beacon Street West, Court Street, and Union Avenue.
Is there any place on North Main Street where that's more common than others, or?
I don't know why, typically it comes in as Union Avenue, because
Yeah.
it's such a big
Right.
stretch. I'm not really sure why the spike in North Main Street this past month, but certainly I'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah, just,
Yeah, they seem to up right along on that street.
Yeah, and I mean, certainly, by the industrial park where it slows down to,
Yeah.
the speed limit drops, and then drops again by Pearly Pond, so, I don't know particularly why we had more accidents that month, but.
Monthly fleet report. Chief.
So the last cruiser is finally being outfitted, and it's currently over at Ospey Mountain Electronics getting the radios and lights put into it, and then all of our capital requests for the 3 new vehicles, all those will be online once that one is back. And that's it for the fleet.
And correspondence to and from the department.
There was a nice thank you letter of appreciation to the officers for the work that they've done as of recently. There was also a nice a letter from Police Standards and Training certifying that we meet the eligibility requirements for U.S. Department of Justice grants. This is a new requirement for federal grants that we have to be certified to meet those eligibility requirements. We actually got the certification from CALIA first, and then we got the same certification from Police Standards and Training, so we actually have a dual certification, but it's that we meet basic minimum requirements to accept federal grants. And that's it for correspondence.
Very good letter from Police Standards and Training.
Yeah, that
Very
was,
good.
that was good.
Okay, moving on, Chief's report.
So for overdoses for year-to-date, we've had a total of 6 overdoses. We've had no overdose deaths for year-to-date. Last year, we had a total of 78 overdoses, and we had a total of 4 overdose deaths. The year before, 2019, we had a total of 63 overdoses, slightly less, but we had way more overdose deaths. So in 2019, we had 9 overdose deaths. So certainly a very positive trend there. At least I think that's a good direction that we're moving in, that overdoses went from 9 deaths in 2019 to 4 in 2020. So Officer Adams has certainly been very busy with that, as well as taking on the ACERT program. And hopefully he'll be here next month to give you a brief on some of the work that he's been doing with that and with the homeless people. So that will probably appear on your agenda for next month's meeting. We've been working, I sit on the State Interoperability Executive Committee. This is a program for FirstNet. It's essentially a cellular system designed for first responders to avoid incidents such as when 9/11, it was actually a commission that was created after 9/11 when that happened, and then followed up by the Boston bombing event, where when those major events happened, cellular communications went down and first responders didn't have the ability to communicate. So FirstNet was a program that was born out of that. It's finally becoming active in New Hampshire, and the AT&T has gotten the contracts. So we switched our Verizon work phones over to AT&T, and we are working to switch over the air cards and other computers to make those FirstNet ready. Essentially, FirstNet is an independent cellular system that will not be throttled or slowed down in the event of mass usage. So even like during Motorcycle Week, when there's a lot of people, or Pumpkin Fest, those will have priority service to allow those to continue through. So that's a really good thing. As you know, I'm on the Committee on Terrorism for the International Chiefs Association. I was asked to participate in a domestic violent extremist working group for them, so I'll be working on that subcommittee over the next year. We recently had a staff meeting. We've been conducting those remotely still through a conference call, but connecting all of our supervisors through remote staff meetings. Recently, we are submitting to get training that we received about a month ago on de-escalation techniques. This is training that was pushed from across the country after what happened over the last year with some officers using force that might not be appropriate. So we took it upon ourselves to attend de-escalation training. And in the next month, all the officers will go through a duty to intervene training. So basically, if they see another officer that might not be using the appropriate level of force, they have a duty to intervene in that and not allow it to occur. So we took that on as a department to do. And now that came out of the Governor's Commission as one of the recommendations to, for all officers to attend de-escalation training. So because we were ahead of the curve on that, we just have to take that training and submit it to the academy, and they'll certify that meets that standard. So certainly ahead of the curve on that. Year-end reports will be in your packet for next month. There's just a delay in assembling the use of force numbers, so those will be there for your review next month. I left in front of you the goals and objectives for the review for 2020. A lot of these we carried forward for goals or objectives for next year, just because this year has been kind of topsy-turvy with COVID and the inability of people to work on these projects freely. But the first goal for 2020 was to implement a UAV or a drone unit. That has been successfully done. All of the equipment is in place. All the pilots have undergone training, and they're all certified to operate the UAV. And actually, we deployed it several weeks ago in Gilmanton on a SWAT call-out for a suicidal subject that was in a sand pit, and successfully confirmed that he was in the truck, and increased officer safety by doing that. So that's certainly a tool that I look forward to seeing be used a lot more. The detective unit review, they've done some work on that, but that's going to be carried forward into next year's goal, as well as technology. This was a way of better communication throughout the department by creating a computer-aided dispatch display screen, so it was a little bit more heads up and people could see information a little bit faster. That will be carried forward, as well as looking at improving the functionality of the patrol office. The Departmental Uniform Review Committee will be carried forward into next year's goals as well. Part of it has been completed, and a new training uniform that will standardize the training uniform that officers attend training in has already been implemented through the use of grant funds. So those should be coming in shortly. One of the goals for 2020 was the creation of a department firearms range. Some of the work has been done on that, but has been limited by COVID, so that will be carried forward as well. The comprehensive written directive review, this was a pretty aggressive schedule to undertake this goal in 3 to 5 years, but we're well underway. We've been working with the Daigle Law Group. Eric Daigle is a use of force expert with police experience, but also as an attorney. So we've been working with his group to review our policies and procedures to make sure that they're cutting edge as far as legality, even though they're all CALEA accredited. CALEA reaccreditation, as you know, we had our on-site in July and our review process in November, and we met all the standards. We're reaccredited at that point. The creation of a department video has been tabled for next year's goal as well. We have contracted with a company out of New York to create this video. They've created similar other promotional videos for recruitment. They just weren't able to come out this year because of COVID. We had plans to take some shots at different events, and that they just didn't happen because of COVID. And then the active shooter readiness and response, we've done several of these full-scale exercises. We were gonna do another one last year, but then the training or the funding fell through for that. So that has been pushed off. So that's a review of the 2020 goals and objectives. You also see the 2021 goals and objectives that are before you as well, and the ones that have been carried forward. So these are all pretty aggressive goals, but certainly something that myself and the staff felt were appropriate and something we should work on. So we've carried these forward to work on for 2021. And I think that's it for all I have for the chief's report.
Questions? Moving on to old business.
Nothing?
New business.
Nothing?
Other business.
Nothing?
Citizen comments.
I do have to back up just 1 second. Counselor Cheney sent his regrets that he couldn't be here today, but he certainly wanted you to know that it wasn't intentional, that he had a conflict, so he'll be here at next month's meeting.
Confirmation of the next meeting date. March 17th. Any conflict?
St. Patrick's Day, is that what it is?
Hmm?
St. Patrick's Day?
St. Patrick's Day, you have to wear green. Wear green?
Yeah.
You wear green. That's it.
Do you have a question, one quick question? Chief, where the skate park was, what's that being used for? Just holding vehicles that are impounded or that kind of thing?
Yeah, at this point, the city has given us, basic permission to use that space. So we're just parking vehicles that, our impound's not big enough, our current one, so we've been parking those over there in storage.
Yeah.
We've been keeping vehicles for a long, long time, so if it's a stolen vehicle, or I think we have an arson vehicle in there, and we've been holding these vehicles for up to 2 years by the time they go through the court process and stuff like that, so we've been just using it for storage at this point.
That's what I figured, so. What happens to vehicles after 2 years then?
They go back to the owner, so they're towed to the police department, and then we tow them back. We have the original tow truck service comes back and gets them and tows them to their yard.
Okay.
They'll call the owner. A lot of times they're owned by an insurance company and they don't want them anymore, or they can be disposed of, or the time has gone by and the tow service will just file to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's destroyed, usually the insurance company has written off on it, and then they're just disposed of.
Yeah.
Is there a need for non-public?
There is not.
Well, that's a sign of the department's doing good.
Things are very good. Given the COVID situation and how fluid it is, I think people's attitudes are good, and everybody's accommodating and certainly making it work. So, and the commission, or the officers certainly appreciate the gift from the commission on the Aroma Joe's coffee cards, so
Good.
it was a very nice gesture, so everyone was
We
very
didn't know if you wanted those little cards filled out or.
There was too many of them.
I know.
Well, they must be due about for some oranges and apples again, I guess.
Yeah, you can always keep that vitamin C out.
That's it.
Are they assigned to, like, cruises, are they assigned to, if a cruise is going out, are they given a card automatically, or?
I gave everyone one personally,
Oh, good,
or I left it in their mailbox if they weren't working.
good.
So, and they also sent out an email on behalf of the commission, just thanking everybody for their,
And you had enough?
plenty, yep,
Good.
Yep, there were a couple left over, and we'll use those for just the shift as sergeants feel
Okay.
free to, so.
And then,
Yes, civilian staff got them as well,
good,
and dispatchers.
Thank you.
good, good.
Yep. Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. Hearing no need for non-public, is there a
Make a motion, we adjourn.
second
I will second that.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye?
Bye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 3:20.
28.
32809.